Hello and welcome back to Holt Fieldhouse as Carson-Newman welcomes in UVA Wise for the third conference match of the week here on the Eagles Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you, taking you through all your coverage this afternoon as Carson-Newman looks to improve to 5-0 in South Atlantic Conference play, and UVA Wise looks to stay above 500. Carson-Newman coming off a win yesterday at rival Tusculum. Blair Cherry moved into 10th all-time in assists, and today with 7, she can move into 9th all-time, so it would be a short amount of time in 10th place for Blair Cherry, who's quickly moving up the assist ladder this year. So a really solid start for the Eagles this season, coming in at 8-3, 4-0 in conference play. UVA Wise 1-2, coming off a win against Coker, 6-5 overall. So Carson-Newman's going to roll with Blair Cherry, Emerson Osmus, Maddie Hurst, the freshman Kylie Oldenburger, the grad Kylie Oldenburger, Taylor Kieran, Blake Cherry, and the libero Bennett McCombs. For UVA Wise, it's Piper Shutteth, Myaleah Huffnagel, Cassidy Farley, Riley Brandon, Kaylee Scarce, Serena Peterson, and the libero Abigail Curtis. So if you notice on the stream here, both teams wearing white this afternoon. Keep you posted on who is who this afternoon. Carson-Newman with the orange numbers and the blue libero. That could be a bit of a distinguishing factor. UVA Wise in the white with the red numerals, and their libero is wearing black. So Carson-Newman, UVA Wise getting ready to roll. We will take a minute for the national anthem and the invocation before coming back with the start of the first set here on the Eagles Sports Network.
Now, fans, we ask that you please rise for today's invocation given today by Carson-Newman volleyball athlete Emerson Osmus.
Dear Lord, thank you for today and the blessings you have given us. I pray for an injury-safe game for each of the players here today, Lord, and I pray that we play in your name. We love you and thank you for everything you have given us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Thank you. Now let's play volleyball!
Back here on the Eagles Sports Network, Ryan Wilkes taking you through all the coverage today of Carson-Newman and UVA Wise. Third conference game of the week for Carson-Newman. 2-0 so far, so good after a 5-set win at Tusculum last night. See, that plays a factor into the Eagles' stamina this afternoon. Carson-Newman took the first 2 sets. Tusculum brought it all the way to the 5th set, but the Eagles were able to deal their in-state rivals its first conference loss of the season. Tusculum now 3-1 in conference play. Carson-Newman now sits tied for first with Lenore Ryan, who's yet to lose this season. 13-0 are the Bears. Carson-Newman 8-3, but in position to take over first place in the South Atlantic Conference if it continues to play good volleyball this season. So the Eagles and the Highland Cavaliers getting ready to roll As I mentioned, both teams wearing white this afternoon. Keep you posted on who is who on each side. Currently, UVA-wise serving left to right. Carson-Newman will be going right to left for you viewers at home as we get ready to roll. Carson-Newman will receive the serve to start this one. Piper Sudduth to serve for the Highland Cavaliers. UVA-wise looking for its first all-time win over Carson-Newman. Carson-Newman controls the all-time series 15-0. Cherry sets up far side. Taylor Kieran a big swing. Nice dig by Sudduth on the back row. Now it's rolled over. Carson-Newman resets. Osmus near side a big swing. The dig on the back row from Scarce. Now cross court. It's Huffnagel who pushes it out of play. Point Carson-Newman. Attacking error to start the scoring this afternoon by the Highland Cavaliers. Not a bad attempt there from Huffnagel as McKenna Hall checks in. Osmus will check out and Hall will head back to serve. 1-0 Carson-Newman early here in set number one. Thank you for joining me wherever you may be listening or watching from. I do appreciate it. Back row serve from McKenna Hall, set up at the net. Poked over by the Highland Cavaliers. McCombs near side for Blake Cherry, who finds the back line and scores. Point Eagles. First kill of the match for either side. It goes to Blake Cherry, as you see, just got it past the middle blockers and found some space on the back row, and Carson-Newman leads early 2-0. Not showing much fatigue after a late match last night. Carson-Newman has come out swinging in this one. This one set up at the net, pushed past the back line by Farley, and Carson-Newman gets another point. It's 3-0. Second attacking error for the Highland Cavaliers and 3 total attacks, and Carson-Newman continues to be the aggressors early in this volleyball match. Hall to serve once again for Carson-Newman. 3-0 your score here on the Eagles Sports Network as she gets this one over top of the net. Blake Cherry to her sister Blair. Now Kieran in the middle. Nice dig on the back row from Sudduth as it's poked over by Scarce. Now near side Blake Cherry. Sudduth with the dig. A big swing. Cherry able to keep it alive. Now Blake will have to roll it over. And the Eagles look to scramble in the middle. Cherry will dump it over, looking for that back line. Nice job by Scarce to recover. Huffnagel pushes it past the middle blockers. Point Highland Cavaliers. Livingston will check in now for Mylea Huffnagel. As you see the kill first of the game for, tough to see who that was on the far side. I think it was Huffnagel who got the kill and scored for UVA-wise. It's 3-1 Eagles as Livingston will serve. Cherry sets up in the middle for Kieran, who pushes it too far to play. Point UVA-wise. First attacking error for the Eagles. Kieran didn't miss that far sideline by much. You see the replay. Tight call there on the back line. It's ruled in favor of UVA-wise, and the Cavaliers are back within one. Cherry sets up far side. Oldenburger overpowers the middle blockers and scores. Point Eagles, it's 4-2. Nice job on that far side. Actually looked like it might have got a piece of the top of the net. Maybe distracting those blockers for the Highland Cavaliers, and Carson-Newman gets a serve back. Bennett McCombs to serve for the Eagles. Goes back row for Livingston. And a little bit of a miscommunication. Looked like Sudduth was trying to go back and retrieve it. She was blocked off by Livingston. It's a service ace for Bennett McCombs, and Carson-Newman leads 5-2. McCombs working quickly, heads back to serve once again. Carson-Newman's lead is back to 3. Livingston on the back row. Sudduth sets up far side for Scarce, and it's tipped at the net, scored by UVA-wise. Good call there at the net. Initially looked like it was past the back line, but Carson-Newman did get a piece of it at the net. Point UVA-wise. Peterson checks back in. The libero Abigail Curtis checks out. Back and forth action so far. Carson-Newman's had the lead all the way through the first few points of this set. Far side Oldenburger, a smart play to roll it over the middle blockers, but a nice job by Brandon to keep it alive. Now it's a block at the net. Maddie Hurst and Kylie Oldenburger combined on the far side, and Carson-Newman has been very effective at that here in the past week. Double-digit blocks at home against Limestone. Replicated that success last night against Tusculum and continues here this afternoon against UVA-wise. Trinity Hayvey to serve. This one set up the net for Peterson. It's blocked but kept alive by the Cavaliers. Cherry sets up in the middle. Hafey bumps it over the top. Excuse me, that's Maddie Hirsch who just checked in. It's kept alive by UVA Wise. Now Cherry will dump. Sudduth keeps it alive. Far side for Wise. Scarce pushes it towards the near side and scores. Nice job by Kaylee Scarce, who saw that near side of the floor wide open and found the sweet spot to score. Point UVA Wise, 6-4 Eagles. So we've got a fast-paced one here in Holt Fieldhouse on a Saturday afternoon. Cherry sets up in the middle. Maddie Hurst, a big swing. She's blocked. It looked like Peterson and Scarce combined in the middle. And UVA Wise gets its first block to make it 6-5. One block apiece for each side, and then we'll get a service error from Riley Brandon. A costly one there. UVA Wise look to be on a little run as Emerson Osmus checks back in. McKenna Hall heads to the bench, and Carson-Newman regains the serve. Blake Cherry to serve for the Eagles. Carson-Newman's lead is 2 here early in set number 1. Cherry back row, tipped around by Livingston. Good job by the Highland Cavaliers to keep it alive. Cherry sets up near side. Emerson Osmus tries to poke it over the top. Now far side, Maddie Hurst, a big swing off the hands of the middle blockers and score. Point Carson-Newman. First kill for Maddie Hurst in her second attack as she's able to overpower the blockers on the outside, and Carson-Newman's lead is back to 3. Cherry to serve once again for the Eagles. Again, not seeing much fatigue from a team that played in the late hours of the night last night as Cherry pushes the serve past the back line. A service error for Carson-Newman and a point for UVA Wise. Mylea Huffnagel checks back in. And Kaylee Scarce will head back to serve for UVA Wise. 8-6 your score here on a Saturday afternoon in Jefferson City as Hafey receives on the back row. Osmus has to just push it towards the net. Cherry will dump it over. Now far side, Huffnagel just able to poke it over. Cherry mistimed her jump, and she gets the kill. Point UVA Wise. Second kill from Mylea Huffnagel. Looked like she was just trying to keep that point in play. Looked like Hurst actually got a piece of it. And it goes down. 8-7 the score as Scarce will serve once again. Gets it over the top of the net. Cherry far side for Maddie Hurst. She's blocked but is kept alive by the freshman at the net. Now near side, Emerson Osmus. In the middle, Scarce. Backward dig for Blake Cherry. Now Blair sets it up for Hurst. Nice recovery by UVA Wise so far this afternoon as Huffnagel puts it down the near side and scores. UVA Wise is really having success going cross-court. Huffnagel with back-to-back kills. Her third in this first set, and it's 8-8. And keeping an eye on Blair Cherry, her 7th assist today, will put her into 9th all-time as the serve goes past the back line. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor Kieran checks in for Bennett McCombs as Maddie Hurst will serve. But talking about Blair Cherry, she moved into the 10th place all-time last night, and she's able to get 7 or more assists, which you have to think she will. Blair Cherry will be 9th all-time as a Hurst serve goes off the hands of Scarce. Nice job by Curtis to go past the back line and keep it in play. Far side, Taylor Kieran puts it down near the back line and scores. Nice attempt for Kaylee Scarce to get there, but Kieran too much power on it and finds the far side corner to score. 10-8 Carson-Newman. What's been a back and forth first set. Carson-Newman has yet to surrender the lead as Hurst high toss and a powerful serve goes over. Now Peterson in the middle. Nice recovery by Carson-Newman. Osmus pokes it over the top, kept alive by Huffnagel. Now it's blocked at the net. Wise continues to scramble and be effective in doing so. Cherry sets it up in the middle for Taylor Kieran. Again, UVA Wise right there. Huffnagel on the far side. Now Cherry goes for the swing, tipped around, and it goes down. Point Eagles. Blair Cherry said that point had gone on for long enough, and she does it herself. Right off the hands of Peterson, she saw it was going to be her and Peterson one-on-one. Blair Cherry wins the battle, and it's 11-8. High toss on the serve from Maddie Hurst. That time it will go past the back line. Service error for the Eagles. Point UVA Wise. 2 apiece now for both sides. You saw Limestone when the Saints came to town on Tuesday. Limestone really shot itself in the foot a couple times with attacking errors and service errors so far for both sides. Pretty clean play as Cherry sets up Osmus at the net, and the freshman puts it down and scores. Point Carson-Newman. You see the power of Osmus at the peak of her jump. Great stuff from the freshman, and Carson-Newman's back in front by 3. Blair Cherry will serve. She just got her 4th assist. Again, an assist. We're on assist watch for Blair Cherry. She needs 3 to move into 9th all-time on the Carson-Newman all-time assist leaders. Set up at the net. Carson-Newman able to... Now Osmus a big swing. Far side puts it past the hands of Abigail Curtis, and she scores. Back-to-back kills for the freshman, and UVA Wise burns a timeout. Back-to-back kills for Emerson Osmus, the freshman. We've talked about him a lot, continue to be a factor here in the early season for Carson-Newman. 13-9 the score in what's been a back-and-forth first set. So we take another look at the kill from Emerson Osmus. That'll send us into a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Eagle Sports Network. Thirteen to 9 here in set number 1. Carson-Newman leads UVA Wise here on the Eagle Sports Network. It's been an entertaining first set. Both sides have been pretty efficient. UVA Wise hit percentage is not really where they'd want it to be at 111, but Carson-Newman at 238. Having success so far, but both teams have kept it close here in the first set. Ryan Wilkes with you here on the Eagle Sports Network as Blair Cherry will head back to serve for Carson-Newman after Emerson Osmus sent us into timeout, got her 2nd kill. Second in all scores so far. Scarce on the back row towards Huffnagel at the net. Blair Cherry right there for Carson-Newman. Now far side. Set up for Huffnagel again on the far side. It's blocked, but a net violation on UVA Wise. Point Carson-Newman. Looks like too many touches on UVA Wise, as that is the correct call. Went off the net and right into the chest of Cassidy Farley. Cherry to serve again. Carson-Newman's lead is 5 here in the first set. Set up near side, blocked at the net, tipped around, and it'll go down. Point Eagles. Emerson Osmus and Taylor Kieran combined in the net. Carson-Newman's 2nd block here in the first set. The Eagles pushing this lead out a little further. It's 15-9. Serve for Cherry. Nice job by Curtis to get there on the soft serve. Now Scarce pushes it past the back line. Point Eagles. Bit of awkward position there for Scarce. A little too far away from the net. And too strong on the swing. 16-9 the score. Not a bad idea to try to go to the back row there by Scarce, but just too much power on the swing as Cherry will serve again. Carson-Newman on a 5-0 scoring run as this one goes off the top of the net. Curtis can't get there. A service ace for Carson-Newman, and Blair Cherry continues to roll. In comes Morgan Blevins to look at the serve. Just got off the top of the net. Curtis did a nice job on the last serve to get there, but that time with it going off the top of the net made it a little bit more difficult on the Cavaliers libero. Cherry with the serve once again. Now it's Blevins, back row for Blake Cherry. Now Blair Cherry to Emerson Osmus. Kept alive by the Highland Cavaliers. Now near side, it's blocked, but it'll go down on Carson-Newman's side. Point UVA Wise. A big kill there for Morgan Blevins to get UVA Wise back in the score column as Sutherland checks back in. See, both Kieran and Osmus got a piece of it there, but just a powerful swing from the senior Morgan Blevins. As Sutherland will serve for UVA Wise. Kind of in no man's land. Blake Cherry able to get a piece of it and knock it over. Near side now, a huge swing by Riley Brandon, and she scores. UVA Wise finding its footing a little bit here, trailing 17-11, but back-to-back kills for the Highland Cavaliers. Has it back within 6. That time just went to the outside of Carson-Newman's middle blockers as Blair Cherry sets up in the middle for Emerson Osmus, who scores. Emerson Osmus, 3 kills now. The Eagles are finding her, and she's making easy work. Osmus checks out, Hall checks in, as you see. Osmus just put that one right down the middle. And Carson-Newman's lead is back to 7. A 5-0 run has kind of sprung Carson-Newman here in the first set, and McKenna Hall looks to help the Eagles cap off this first set at home. Huffnagel swings, she's blocked at the net, tipped around, and somehow UVA Wise gets it back to the Eagles side. Now Blake Cherry, Huffnagel sets in the net. Kieran tries to put it down. She'll try again, and this time she scores. Point Eagles. Taylor Kieran said second time's a charm. And it's 19-11. Good job by Sudduth to keep it alive, but went right back to Kieran, and she slams it down. UVA Wise will burn it second time out. Carson-Newman's lead is 8. It's 19-11 here on the Eagles Sports Network. Nine to 11, Carson-Newman with the lead here in the first set. Coming back after timeout, Taylor Kieran tried it once in the middle of the net. UVA Wise right there, but it went right back to her, and she tried it again and scored. Carson-Newman's lead is 8 as McKenna Hall will head back to serve. It was back and forth early. Carson-Newman's kind of pulled away here in the later part of this first set. An 8-point advantage. McKenna Hall with the serve for Carson-Newman. Back row for Huffnagel. Sudduth sets it at the net in the middle for Brandon, who scores. Nice job by Riley Brandon in the middle. Sudduth found her, and she put it down. Cameron Livingston will check in. Mylea Huffnagel checks out. 19-12 the score. UVA Wise looking for a little surge. We're on the back end of the first set. Livingston with the serve. Back row from McKenna Hall. Blair Cherry sets up near side for her sister Blake, and she pushes it too far. Pass the near sideline. Point UVA Wise. Third attacking error for Carson-Newman, who's been pretty efficient so far and limited the errors that time. Right idea by Blake Cherry. Just couldn't find the near sideline. Livingston back to serve once again for the Highland Cavaliers. Back row from McKenna Hall. Blair Cherry chases it down to her sister Blake, who pushes it past the back line. Point UVA Wise. Back-to-back attacking errors for Carson-Newman has the Highland Cavaliers back within 5. Also, Blair Cherry one assist away from 9th all-time on the Carson-Newman assist list. We'll keep an eye on that here in this first set. This serve goes off the hands of McKenna Hall and score. Service ace for Cameron Livingston, and just like that, UVA Wise on a 4-0 scoring run. And the Highland Cavaliers are within 4. Like Hall just got it off the outside of her wrist there. And Livingston with a powerful serve will set up again. McCombs receives on the back row. Cherry far side. And it's out of bounds past the far sideline. Point UVA Wise. Kylie Oldenburger just a little bit too far past the far sideline. UVA Wise on a 5-0 scoring run will send us into timeout. Kat Collins burns her first. And just like that, it's 19-16 here in set number 1. We'll be right back here on the Eagles Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, UVA Wise has used a 5-0 scoring run to make this one interesting. Carson-Newman led 19-11 out of the last time out, but UVA Wise has scored the last 5, forcing Carson-Newman to burn its first. 19-16 the score. UVA Wise retains the serve. It's Cameron Livingston back to serve for the Highland Cavaliers. Carson-Newman on a little homestand right now. 3 of its last 4 matches will be at home. Catawba on, I believe, Monday will come to town before 4 straight road matches at Mars Hill. 3 at Mars Hill, at Lincoln Memorial, at Wingate before being back home against Tusculum. So Carson-Newman looking to improve on. It's been a really good home stretch so far. Blair Cherry sets up near side for Blake. Sutton sets up Scarce on the far side. It's blocked, but it goes out of play. Point UVA Wise. A kill for Kaylee Scarce as she overpowers Carson-Newman's Taylor Kieran and Kylie Oldenburger on the far side. Andy Dzikowski is going to check in for the first time. She's some Halloween spirit out here at Holt Fieldhouse this afternoon. Not even the month of October yet, but the Halloween spirit out and about this weekend in Jefferson City. 19-17 the score. UVA Wise has scored the last 6. Blair Cherry sets up far side for Taylor Kieran, tipped around to the net, and it's pushed over by Cassidy Farley, and she scores. Carson-Newman caught sleeping there as UVA Wise was tipping it around at the net. Farley said, back row's wide open. And she puts it down. It's 19-18. UVA Wise firmly back in this first set. As Livingston heads back to serve. McCombs receives. Cherry bumps at the net for Andy Dzikowski, and it's an attacking error for Carson-Newman, and we're tied at 19. Timeout Carson-Newman, an 8-0 run for UVA Wise, and it's coming down to the stretch here at Carson-Newman in this first set. We'll be back here on the Eagle Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, UVA Wise has scored the last 8 points, an 8-0 scoring run that ties this one up at 19. Carson-Newman looking for a little run here at the end. UVA Wise had its run. Carson-Newman looking for one of its own. There's his first set victory. Talked about the fatigue factor maybe setting in for Carson-Newman. It seems like the Eagles look a little fatigued here later in this first set after battling it out in 5 sets with Tusculum last night in Greenville. Livingston will serve. Back row for McKenna Hall. Blair Cherry on the near side for Andy Dzikowski. Nice dig by Curtis on the back row. Blocked to the net by the Eagles. Farley again tries to go back row with it. Now Oldenburger pushes it past the back line. Point UVA Wise. The Highland Cavaliers have their first lead here in set number 1. You see Oldenburger tried to push it over the top of the outside blockers and it just went too far past the back row. Livingston to serve. UVA Wise in the midst of a 9-0 scoring run. Cherry gets to the far side for Oldenburger. Nice dig by Brandon. Now Scarce on the far side. Cherry keeps it in play. McCombs near side, the freshman Dzikowski, who puts it down on the back row and scores. Breaks up a 9-0 scoring run for UVA Wise, and Carson-Newman ties it at 20. Dzikowski went right through the middle blockers and found a sweet spot on the back row. Now Bennett McCombs to serve for Carson-Newman. 20 apiece here in the first set. Back row for Scarce. Sutton sets it up for Scarce on the far side. Cherry gets a piece of it. Nice job by McCombs to recover. There, Cherry has to roll it over. Now Curtis to Brandon off the hands of Cherry and down. Point UVA Wise, 21-20. The Highland Cavaliers out in front by 1. It'll be Farley to head back and serve for UVA Wise. The southpaw sends it to the back row. Blair Cherry near side to Dzikowski. Wise keeps it in play. Now Scarce bumps it over the top. Carson-Newman keeps it in play, but it's in the middle of the net for Peterson, who puts it down and scores. UVA Wise has its biggest lead. It's 22-20. You see Peterson knocked off her feet a little bit there at the net, but she scores it 22-20. UVA Wise. Farley serves. Cherry sets up far side. Oldenburger a swing. UVA Wise keeps it in play. Now Brandon near side. Cherry bumps it towards the net for Blake. And it goes down, and the Eagles score. Blake Cherry scores. I believe that's the assist Blair Cherry needs to move into 9th all-time on the Carson-Newman assist list. She finds her sister a fitting way to get that 7th assist. And it's 22-21. As I mentioned, Blair Cherry moved into 10th place last night. Tonight, or this afternoon, moves into 9th. In the middle for Brandon. She pushes it past the back line. Point Eagles. Carson-Newman scored the last two. It's 22 apiece here in the first set. Trinity Hayfie to serve for Carson-Newman. Southeth at the net, bumps it to Peterson, who put it right back into that. Point Carson-Newman. An attacking error for UVA Wise. Carson-Newman looking to separate itself here at the end of the first set. Another attacking error for UVA Wise. It's now 8 for the Highland Cavaliers here in the first set. The serve goes off the hands of Livingston, kept alive. Curtis bumps it over for the Highland Cavaliers. Now in the middle for Hurst, who scores. Great set by Blair Cherry. Maddie Hurst puts it down, and it's set point. Hurst got it at the peak of her jump, and the lefty scores. 24-22, Carson-Newman. Hayfie to serve. Back row for Livingston. Southeth bumps it around. Now Livingston has to roll it over. Cherry sets it up far side. Hurst again. It will be kept alive by the Highland Cavaliers, and what a job by UVA Wise. Blair Cherry sets up near side for Blake. Southeth on the far side. Scarce is blocked, and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Blair Cherry and Maddie Hurst put an end to the first set. Carson-Newman had to fight. UVA Wise with a 9-0 scoring run to tie it up. But the Eagles' third block of the match gives it to Carson-Newman, 25-22. What a first set we had. Hopefully we're in store for much more. 1-0 Carson-Newman will take a break and be back on the other side with the second set here on the Eagle Sports Network. Back here at Holt Fieldhouse, ready to go for set number 2. And what a first set it was between these two teams, Carson-Newman and UVA Wise. Here at Holt Fieldhouse, Ryan Wilkes with you, taking you through the second SAC volleyball matchup of the week. Here at Holt, Carson-Newman leads 1-0 over UVA Wise. Looking at the first set numbers, it was Carson-Newman basically all the way through, 19-11. Carson-Newman looked ready to close it out. UVA Wise was on a 9-0 scoring run, had a lead as much as 22-20 in that first set. Carson-Newman goes on a 5-0 run to end it. Carson-Newman gets a block, third block of the game so far to end the first set. Should be another fun one here in set number 2. Mentioned both teams are wearing white. If you're just joining us, Carson-Newman will now be going left to right, UVA Wise right to left. On the floor currently for Carson-Newman, you got Blair Cherry, Maddie Hurst, Blake Cherry, Emerson Osmus, Taylor Kieran. And it looks like Bahar Kurtalush is out there to start the second set. For UVA Wise, it's Abigail Curtis, Kaylee Scarce, Riley Brandon is out there, as well as Mylea Huffnagel, Morgan Blevins, and Cassidy Farley. Looking at the numbers in terms of kills, Emerson Osmus leads the way for Carson-Newman with 3. Mylea Huffnagel and Riley Brandon tied atop the UVA Wise score sheet with 3 apiece. Bunch of Eagles with 2. Maddie Hurst has 2. Taylor Kieran has 2, as well as Blake Cherry. So Bahar Kurtalush getting some time here to start the second set. The senior transfer from UNC Asheville will be Blair Cherry to serve to start set number 2. The serve goes past the back line and out of play. Point Wise. 1-0. UVA Wise takes the early lead as Piper Sudduth will check back in. She'll go back to serve. Sudduth to serve for UVA Wise. 1-0 early here in set number 2. Blair Cherry sets it up far side. Emerson Osmus a big swing, but it goes past the near sideline. Point UVA Wise. Tight there on the sideline. It looked like Osmus just inches away from her 4th kill. But an attacking error for Carson-Newman, now 8 apiece for each side to match the kill total for each side. 12 kills apiece for both sides so far. Sudduth with the serve. Cherry at the net. Pokes it towards Osmus, who this time will score. Emerson Osmus puts it down. Point Carson-Newman, and it's 2-1. Hall will check in to serve. So Cherry just able to get a piece of that, and Osmus did the rest. Blair Cherry picks up her 9th assist of the game. Hall to serve for Carson-Newman. 2-1 your score. UVA Wise out in front. Sudduth sets up Farley. Dig by McCombs on the back row. Now Blake Cherry. Sudduth near side. It'll go out of bounds past the far sideline. Point Carson-Newman. An attacking error for Mylea Huffnagel on the near side. 2-2 your score here very early in the second set. Carson-Newman took the first one 25-22, led by as much as 9, but UVA Wise made a spirited comeback. Scarce has to bump that one over. Cherry sets up in the middle for Kieran, who scores. Taylor Kieran found the near side corner and gets her 3rd kill. Another great set by Blair Cherry. Powerful swing by Taylor Kieran to find the near sideline, and Carson-Newman's out in front 3-2. Hall to serve once again for the Eagles. This serve goes into the net. Point Wise. Livingston checks in, likely to serve. Mylea Huffnagel checks out. Livingston will serve for Wise. 3-3 here in set number 2. Carson-Newman leads UVA Wise 1-0. Again, Wise 0-15 against Carson-Newman in 15 matchups, looking for its first program win as Kurtalush puts a swing on it. She's blocked, but is kept alive by the Eagles. Far side, Blake Cherry. A nice dig by Sudduth. Now Curtis bumps it near side for Scarce. Cherry sets up. Taylor Kieran. It's tipped around and it goes down. Point Eagles. Taylor Kieran now tied for the lead for both sides and kills with 4. Just push it through. Farley and Brandon in the middle. And it'll be Bennett McCombs to serve for Carson-Newman. Eagles back in front by 1. Serve from McCombs goes to Livingston. Sudduth near side, scarce. McCombs tracks it down. Curtalouche will have to dump it over. Now Sudduth, far side. Brandon overpowers Hurst and Cherry and scores. Here comes Serena Peterson back in. As we're tied at 4. Farley to serve for the Highland Cavaliers. 4 apiece here very early in the second set. The lefty puts it towards the back row. Hall gets a piece. Now McCombs, far side. Blake Cherry. Nice dig on the back row for Livingston. Now set up in the middle for Scarce. Cherry to Curtalouche. The lefty's blocked, but it's kept alive. McKenna Hall will dump it over towards the back row. Sudduth near side for Scarce. McKenna Hall again right there. Curtalouche over top of the scorer's table, keep it in play, and Hurst will roll it over. Dalton pokes it over for Wise. Now Cherry at the net to Curtalouche, who puts it in the net. Point Wise. Good scramble by Carson-Newman to stay in that point. But eventually, point goes to UVA Wise. It's 5-4. Second time here in this homestand that Carson-Newman has rallied to find the ball over top of the scorer's table. That time it was Curtalouche to get there. As Cherry sets it up for her sister Blake. A big swing. Sudduth got a piece of it. Scarce right there as well, but it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Third kill for Blake Cherry as Trinity Hayfie checks back in for Bahar Curtalouche. That one got in on Sudduth. She wasn't able to put enough on it to keep it in play for UVA Wise. And it's 5 apiece. Hayfie to serve for the Eagles. Sudduth sets it up in the middle. Peterson, it looked like 2 Cavaliers got a piece of it. Don't know if that's going to go to Scarce or Peterson. Nonetheless, a kill for UVA Wise as Morgan Blevins will check back in. Piper Sudduth heads to the bench. Again, even on replay, looked like Peterson got most of the touch there. Nonetheless, UVA Wise scores and back in front 6-5. Cherry sets up Hurst at the net, who tries to go near side. Curtis right there. Now a big swing by Blevins on the far side, and she scores. Overpowers Cherry and Hurst on the far side. And UVA Wise lead is 2. Serve goes back row from McCombs. Cherry will dump it over. Curtis able to get a piece of it. And Livingston comes up to keep it alive. Now nobody home in the middle of the court. Point Wise. The Highland Cavaliers were just looking to get that one over. As Livingston came up, it was Brandon to keep it in play. And nobody home in the middle for Carson-Newman. Point UVA Wise. Cameron Betas checks in for the first time. McKenna Hall checks out as the serve goes to Trinity Hayfie. Cherry sets up Blake Cherry on the far side. Now Brandon in the middle for Scarce, who scores. So they're going to call a block. Well, like initially it fell on Carson-Newman's side. We'll take a look at the replay here. Maybe a net violation on UVA Wise, because certainly did fall on Carson-Newman's side of the floor. 8-6 the score. Carson-Newman trails by 2, as it looks like the Eagles are going to burn an early timeout. 8-6 UVA Wise out in front as the Highland Cavaliers look to even the set score up here on Holt Fieldhouse. We'll be back on the Eagles Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, set number 2. It's 1-0 Carson-Newman, but UVA Wise leads here early in the second set. The timeout there coming off a Carson-Newman point. Interesting, maybe just to get the Eagles a break. Again, Carson-Newman went to 5 sets with with Tusculum last night in Greenville. Went well past the 9 o'clock hour, and Carson-Newman in its third match of the week. Again, mentioned that fatigue certainly could be a factor this afternoon. Carson-Newman maybe looking to just catch its breath as Blake Cherry serves for the Eagles. Brandon sets it up in the middle for Scarce. He puts it down off the hands of Blake Cherry in the back row. Point UVA Wise. Mylea Huffnagel will check in as he looked at a powerful swing from Scarce. And it's 9-6 UVA Wise. Highland Cavaliers got a South Carolina Conference win earlier this week, taking down Coker in 4 sets. Carson-Newman again playing its third match of the week in conference. Maddie Hurst pokes it over the top. Abigail Curtis right there. Now Brandon sets up in the middle for Scarce. Carson-Newman able to keep it alive. Osmus able to roll it over. A little bit awkward there from the Eagles as Brandon sets up Huffnagel near side. McCombs there with the dig. Now Cherry able to get it to Blake. Carson-Newman able to keep the point alive. Peterson a big swing. Now far side Osmus. She'll score. Emerson Osmus up to 5 kills to lead all scorers. She scores on the far side. Taylor Kieran will check in for Bennett McCombs as the freshman Osmus continues to impress. Overpowers the middle blockers on the far side. And Carson-Newman now trails by 2. Maddie Hurst will serve. Again, that high toss by the freshman. Goes back row to Abigail Curtis. Near side, Mylea Huffnagel is blocked. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor Kieran and Blair Cherry on the near side combined for the blocking. Carson-Newman has its 4th in the match. Point Eagles. Hurst to serve once again for Carson-Newman, who's back within 1 here in the second set. Serve will go past the far sideline and out of play. Point UVA Wise. Cassidy Farley checks back in. Hurst will check out. McCombs back in for the Eagles as Abigail Curtis heads back to serve. For the UVA Wise Highland Cavaliers, 10-8 your score here early in set number 2. Curtis's serve goes off the hands of Hafey and down. Service ace for Curtis. Point Wise. Second service ace for UVA Wise matches Carson-Newman's total. And Wise's lead is now 3. Curtis with the right-handed serve. Back row for Trinity Hafey. Now Cherry sets up far side. Osmus again. This time she's blocked. Kept alive by Carson-Newman. Near side, Taylor Kieran. Brandon sets up on the far side for Peterson, who puts it through Kieran and Osmus and scores. UVA Wise now leads 12-8 after the kill from Serena Peterson on the far side. Again, Carson-Newman right there with its net presence, but UVA Wise overpowers him that time as Curtis's serve kept alive by the Eagles. Osmus pokes it over and finds a sweet spot in the middle to score. Again, Emerson Osmus just looking to get it over there as Bahar Kurtalush checks back in. Bit of an awkward play on the far side, but Osmus a heads-up play to just poke it where UVA Wise was not. And it's 12-9. And Kurtalush back in here for the Eagles. Haven't seen her much here at home, but getting some action here this afternoon. The transfer from UNC Asheville. Far side for Blevins. Now Cherry sets up Kieran in the middle. She's blocked. It looked like it was just Cassidy Farley there, one-on-one. She wins the battle with Taylor Kieran, and it's 13-9. Looking at the replay, certainly was just Cassidy Farley all alone in the middle. What a job by her, taking on a powerful swing from Taylor Kieran, who led the team in kills at home. Almost had a double-double against Limestone as the serve goes over. Cherry gets a piece of it. Now McCombs will bump it over. Carson-Newman looking to recover. Farley in the middle. Blair Cherry with a nice dig. Now Bennett McCombs far side for Emerson Osmus. She's blocked. Point UVA Wise. UVA Wise controlling the net here in the second set. On the far side, look like Farley and Brandon combined for the block. Third of the match for UVA Wise, and it's 14-9. Sudduth to serve for the Highland Cavaliers. Cherry sets up far side for Kurtalush. Curtis will bump it back towards Scarce. Goes off the hands of Blake Cherry. Bennett McCombs has to find the free ball, and now Emerson Osmus will roll it over. Play at the net. Farley dumps it towards the back line, but it goes just beyond it. Point Carson-Newman. Nice idea by Cassidy Farley to try and dump it to the back line. The back judge was watching it all the way, and it goes just out of play. 14-10 the score. Carson-Newman finds itself behind. The Eagles have trailed most of the second set as Cameron Bates, the lefty, will serve for the Eagles. Back row for Curtis. Sutton sets up Brandon in the middle, but it goes past the back line. Point Eagles. Wise thought it was tipped. We'll take a look at the replay here in a moment. Another attacking error for UVA Wise to make that 13 on the afternoon. Pretty clean there as Beta serves. Sutton sets up. Far side Farley. Beta's able to keep it alive. Cherry has to dump it over, and it goes. Looked like it was tipped. Point UVA Wise. A little bit of an awkward point there, as it was tipped by Curtalouche at the net. As Cameron Livingston checks in, she'll head back to serve. 15-11 UVA Wise. It's been a fast-paced first couple of sets here at Holt Fieldhouse. UVA Wise has stood up to the test of one of the South Atlantic Conference top teams in Carson-Newman, just behind behind Lenore Ryan in the standings. As the bump by McCombs rolls over. Southern sets up far side for Brandon off the hands of Blair Cherry and score. Brandon with the kill. That's her 5th to take the lead on the score sheet for the Highland Cavaliers. Nice job to go cross court there. Cherry not quite ready for it. And it's 16-11. Livingston's serve goes back row to Cameron Bates. Blair Cherry sets up Curtalouche with a big swing. Goes all the way to the ceiling of Holt Fieldhouse. Nice job by Livingston to focus in on that ball as Cherry sets it up in the middle. Taylor Kieran finds the back line and scores. Taylor Kieran's 5th kill, well placed on the back row. She'll check in favor of Maddie Hurst. Great set again by Blair Cherry. And it finds a sweet spot on the back row. 16-12, Carson-Newman gets a serve back for Bennett McCombs. Sutton sets up in the middle for Brandon. She's blocked. Point Eagles. Maddie Hurst and Blake Cherry combined. Carson-Newman's 5th block of the match and allowed one. Caught Brandon at the peak of her jump. And the Eagles score. 16-13. Wise still out in front, but Carson-Newman putting together a little run here in the second set. Sutton sets up far side for Farley. Cherry with the dig on the back row. Now Blake Cherry tries to push it back row. Livingston right there for Wise. Scarce is blocked, but she keeps alive. They go right back to her. She's blocked again, but it's kept in play. Brandon tries to poke it over the top. Eagles keeping in play. Far side, Blake Cherry tries to go cross court. Kaylee Scarce right there. Now she tries to poke it back row, and the dive by Cameron Bates puts the ball in the near side stands. Point UVA Wise. What a point by both sides scrambling. Kaylee Scarce gave it a couple tries, couldn't get it. But the third time she goes with a soft approach and finds it. 17-13 UVA Wise as the Highland Cavaliers get the serve back for Cassidy Farley, who pushes it past the back row and out of play. Point Carson-Newman. Third service error for UVA Wise as Trinity Hayfie checks back in for Bahar Curtalouche, who's giving the Eagles some good minutes off the bench. Some good points off the bench as Hayfie serves. Back row for Livingston. This one's tipped around. Wise is able to get it over. Brandon right there. In the middle for Hurst. A big swing, but it's past the far sideline. Point Wise. The attempt by Brandon to keep it alive was the catalyst in that point. As Blevins checks back in for Wise, it's 18-14. The Highland Cavaliers have the lead. Here's a serve for Brandon. It goes into the net. Point Carson-Newman. UVA Wise here in the second set. A couple costly service errors that has given the Eagles a serve right back as Emerson Osmus checks back in. That one really not even close. Went to the bottom of the net. As Blake Cherry will serve. Carson-Newman trails by 3. Looking for a run here late in set number 2. Brandon sets up in the middle. Peterson's blocked and Carson-Newman scores. The two freshmen combine. Actually, they're going to say a solo block for Emerson Osmus. Take a look at it. Osmus got the gist of it there. Point Carson-Newman, 18-16. Eagles to serve. It's Blake Cherry again for Carson-Newman. Serve goes back row for Livingston. Brandon sets it up in the middle for Scarce. Now Cherry dumps it over, finds a near sideline and scores. Blair Cherry so effective. She Pretty deceptive there to score and find the near sideline right in front of the Carson-Newman bench. Less of a dump, more of a swing, but nonetheless, Blair Cherry gets it done. It's 18-17. Brandon sets it up. Big swing for Blevins, kept alive by Carson-Newman. Far side, Emerson Osmus tipped around and scored. Emerson Osmus up to 7 kills to lead all scorers, and Carson-Newman has tied it up at 18. Timeout UVA wise. Carson-Newman got the run it needed. 4-0 scoring run to tie it up at 18. We'll be back with the rest of this exciting set number 2 here on the Eagle Sports Network.
It's
18 apiece here in the second set. This one has turned out to be just as good as set number 1. Roles have been reversed a little bit. Carson-Newman playing from behind. And the Eagles have gone on their own run to tie things up. Not as dramatic as UVA Wise was going on that 9-0 run in the first set, but Carson-Newman has pieced together a little scoring run here to tie things up. Blake Cherry serves. Brandon sets up in the middle for Scarce. Kept alive on the dig by Hafey. Far side for Emerson Osmus. Now Brandon sets up Peterson. Osmus right there for Carson-Newman. Cherry sets up in the middle. Maddie Hurst, a big swing, tipped around and scored. Maddie Hurst gets the kill, gives Carson-Newman the lead, her third of the match. It's 19-18. Right in the middle there, Hurst able to poke it in between 2 Highland Cavaliers. Curtis tried to keep it alive, but could not do so. Carson-Newman leads 19-18. As the serve goes back row. Now Peterson tries to push it far side. Hafey with the dig. Now Osmus far side. She's blocked, kept alive by Carson-Newman. McCombs back to Osmus, pokes it towards Scarce, who's right there. Now Scarce in the middle, she's blocked, and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Blair Cherry and Maddie Hurst combine, and the Eagles lead by 2. Scarce went at Cherry. And Blair Cherry had something to say about that. 20-18 Carson-Newman. 6-0 scoring run for the Eagles. Brandon near side Blevins. A good dig by Blake Cherry on the back row. Now far side Emerson Osmus pokes it over the top. Brandon right there to keep it in play. Now to Scarce. Blair Cherry with the dump. Curtis ready for it. Now Scarce. Bennett McCombs with the dig. Osmus on the far side. Livingston does a nice job to keep it in play. Now to Scarce. Blair Cherry sets it up in the middle for Blake. Goes off the hands of Brandon. Livingston gives chase. She can't get there. Point Carson-Newman. 4th kill for Blake Cherry, and UVA Wise will use its second timeout. 7-0 scoring run, in which a match that's been defined by scoring runs here at Holt Fieldhouse. Carson-Newman has the 3-point advantage. We'll take a break and be right back here on the Eagle Sports Network. Carson-Newman has used a 7-0 scoring run to take a 3-point advantage here late in set number 2. Ryan Wilkes with you here on the Eagle Sports Network. This has been a fun one here at Holt Fieldhouse. Hope you're having just as much fun as I am. wherever you may be viewing or listening from. I do appreciate you tuning in here on the Eagle Sports Network. It's supposed to be a busy day on the Eagle Sports Network, but 2 soccer matches have been postponed. But nonetheless, Carson-Newman football at Catawba this weekend, 6 o'clock kick from Salisbury. Tune in with Adam Cavalieri, Andrew Rogers, and David Meads bringing you the call as Brandon sets up in the middle for Scarce. Tipped around by Carson-Newman, but it's scored. Big point for UVA Wise at the timeout as Mylea Huffnagel will check back in. She Scarce tried to go cross court. Hafey maybe mistimed her jump a little bit, and Cherry couldn't get to it. 21-19 the score. Scarce will serve. Back row for Blake Cherry. Now Blair sets it up for Osmus. She's blocked, goes off her shoulder, and is kept in play. Brandon sets up near side Huffnagel. Hafey with the dig. Now Bennett McCombs on the far side for Osmus. Abigail Curtis bumps it near side. Mylea Huffnagel pushes it past the far sideline. The near side, they're going to say it was tipped. Or maybe a net violation on Carson-Newman. Point Wise. Maybe they're saying Cherry and Hurst touched the top of the net. Not sure what the call was there. Didn't look like it was tipped. Nonetheless, Wise back within 1. Serve from Scarce goes to Blake Cherry. Now set up for Maddie Hurst. Big swing. Now Hurst will go right back to it and score. Scarce's bump went right back over the top of the net. Maddie Hurst right there said, yeah, I'll try again. And she scores. The freshman active at the net. And she'll head back to serve for Carson-Newman, 22-20 in an equally tight second set. This one's set up far side. Peterson a big swing, but it goes past the back line. Point Eagles. 23-20 the score on the attacking error for UVA Wise. 17th of the match. As the Eagles are 2 points away from closing it out. See that one. Good job by the line judge on the back row. She's done a great job all afternoon as first serve goes in the net. Point UVA Wise. Hurst will check out. McCombs checks back in on a costly Carson-Newman service error that gives Wise the serve back. Abigail Curtis will serve for Wise. Carson-Newman needs 2 points to close it out. Blair Cherry sets up Emerson Austin's far side. She pokes it over the top and scores. Emerson Osmus mixing up her attacks very effectively. And she gets just enough of that one to find the Carson-Newman logo at midcourt. And it's set point for Carson-Newman. Blair Cherry to serve. We'll see if Carson-Newman can outlast UVA Wise here in the second set. Brandon sets it up in the middle. A big swing by Huffnagel, and she scores. Nice job by Mylea Huffnagel, who leads UVA Wise with 6 kills. As it'll be Suddeth to go back to serve. 24-22. Still set point for the Eagles. UVA Wise looking for a run here at the end of the second set. Suddeth serve goes back row for Osmus. Cherry sets up Taylor Kieran, who pushes it past the back row. Point Wise. Note here, Taylor Adams has checked in for the first time for Carson-Newman, and Kat Collins will wisely burn her first time out. Carson-Newman still set point, but UVA Wise can look to push this one further. With a point out of the timeout, we'll be right back. Carson-Newman leads 24-23 here in the second set on the Eagle Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, Carson-Newman leads 24-23, looking to close out the second set and gain a convincing 2-0 set lead here on the Eagle Sports Network. Carson-Newman to UVA Wise. Carson-Newman looking to improve to 5-0 in SAC play. UVA Wise searching for its first win over the Carson-Newman Eagles in 16 tries. This being the 16th this afternoon, and it has certainly lived up to the billing. Piper Suddeth will have the serve out of the timeout. Carson-Newman with a 24-23 lead. Suddeth's serve goes back row to Osmus. Blair Cherry sets up Osmus, and she'll find the middle of the court. Point Eagles. Emerson Osmus gets her 9th kill, and Carson-Newman wins set number 2, 25-23. Roles reverse. Carson-Newman playing from behind. They're in the second set, but got the job done, and the Eagles lead 2-0. We'll be back with the third set here on the Eagle Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, with her efforts today, Carson-Newman setter Blair Cherry has passed Holly Barnum for 9th all-time in Carson-Newman career assists.
Back for set number 3. Carson-Newman leads 2-0 here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you this afternoon. We've had 2 really tightly contested sets, 25-22 in set number 1, 25-23 in set number 2. High quality volleyball match here this afternoon. Hope you're enjoying along with me. Again, later this evening actually, Catawba and Carson-Newman take the gridiron in Salisbury, North Carolina. Carson-Newman looking to improve to 4-0 for the first time in 17 years. The Eagles get the 31-28 overtime win over Wingate last week. What a game that was. Carson-Newman sports are off to a good start this year. Both soccer teams have secured wins here in this month, and Carson-Newman football and Carson-Newman volleyball both playing great as well. So hopefully you will tune into that coverage later this evening. Looking at some of the stats this afternoon, Emerson Osmus leads away for Carson-Newman with 9 kills on the afternoon. And Carson-Newman looks to close things out in sweeping fashion. What a job it would be for Carson-Newman to win all 3 SAC matches this week. It's been a busy week for Carson-Newman. Started with Limestone on Tuesday. Had Tusculum last night and coming back home to face UVA Wise this afternoon. Sudduth to serve for Wise to start set number 3. Blair Cherry sets up far side. Taylor Kieran. Now Sudduth sets up Farley. Blair Cherry, Emerson Osmus pushes it past the far sideline. Point Wise. Wise leads early, 1-0. Here in the third set, Carson-Newman with a 2-0 lead as Emerson Osmus tried to go cross court. A little too far past the far sideline. An attacking error for Carson-Newman. Here's a serve from Sudduth. Cherry sets up in the middle for Osmus. A big swing, and she puts it right in between the legs of Piper Sudduth. Point Carson-Newman. puts Osmus in double-digit kills as a rocket off her hand as Cameron Betas checks in. Osmus will head to the bench as Betas will serve for Carson-Newman. 1-1 your score here very early in set number 3. As a lefty, Betas prepares to serve for Carson-Newman. Goes back row. Now Sudduth sets up at the net for Farley. She's blocked, but it's kept alive by Scarce. Sudduth now pushes it cross court. And a net violation on the Highland Cavaliers. Point Carson-Newman. Not a bad idea there to try and go cross court by Sudduth. It's a little too short, and it pushed Huffnagel into the net. That was tight there. The right call. Carson-Newman leads now 2-1. The serve from Betas goes back row. Now Farley. McCombs bumps it towards Blake Cherry, who pushes it over. Scarce gets a piece of it. Curtis gives chase, but bumps it in the near side bleachers. Point Carson-Newman. Eagles lead 3-1. As nice attempt there by both Scarce and Curtis. Neither could get there. I believe that kill is going to go to Blake Cherry. Carson-Newman off to a good start here in the third set, looking for the sweep at home. Sudduth sets up in the middle for Brandon. Nice job by Blair Cherry, who's right there. Now Blake on the near side. Sudduth sets up Farley. Now Blair Cherry, far side for Kylie Oldenburger, who scores. Point Carson-Newman on the kill for Kylie Oldenburger, her second, excuse me. And Carson-Newman's in the midst of a 4-0 scoring run. Good job on the momentum, carrying Oldenburger towards the net to stay back and keep that a valid point as Cameron Betas will serve once again for the Eagles. Sudduth sets up far side Huffnagel. It's tipped. Carson-Newman keeps it in play. Blair Cherry to Blake. Scarce with the dig to keep it alive. Now Brandon will bump it over. McCombs able to keep it in play for Carson-Newman. The Eagles scrambling back in position. Brandon swings. She's blocked, and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor, Kieran, and Blake Cherry combine, and UVA Wise will burn an early timeout. Great job by McCombs to get there, just keep the point alive, get back into position, and Carson-Newman able to scramble and get it done. A 5-0 scoring run for Carson-Newman to start off set number 3. 5-1 Eagles. We'll be back here on the Eagles Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, Carson-Newman arguably off to its best start in the set here this afternoon. A 5-0 scoring run out of the break for Carson-Newman. Ryan Wilkes with you here on the Eagles Sports Network. Thank you for joining me this afternoon as Carson-Newman looks for the sweep over UVA Wise, even though nothing's really come easy this afternoon for the Eagles. And UVA Wise has stood up to the test well. Regardless, win or loss, you got to be happy with this performance if you're UVA Wise as Sudduth sets up far side for Brandon. The swing finds the back row. Point Wise. UVA Wise this afternoon has been really good at a timeout. And another good job out of a timeout right there on the kill by Riley Brandon. Cameron Livingston checks in to serve. 5-2 your score. Carson-Newman still out in front. So Livingston's serve goes back row from McCombs. Cherry sets up Kieran, a big swing, and she scores on the near sideline. Point Eagles. 6th kill for Taylor Kieran as McKenna Hall will check in for Taylor Kieran. Maddie Hirsch checks in for Bennett McCombs. As Kieran, once again, a good stretch for her in 2 home matches this week. Led the team in kills against Limestone and is picked up where she left off this afternoon. McKenna Hall to serve for Carson-Newman. Goes back row for Curtis. Sudduth to Scarce. It's tipped around and goes down. Point UVA Wise. Serena Peterson checks back in. Curtis checks out. Here comes Taylor Kieran from McKenna Hall, and Bennett McCombs will come in as well. Cassidy Farley to serve. The lefty puts it up in the air and sends it back row for Cameron Batis. Blair Cherry in the middle for Maddie Hurst. Sudeth to Riley Brandon, kept alive by Carson-Newman. Blair Cherry near side to Blake. It's tipped and scored. Point Eagles, kill for Blake Cherry. That's her 5th. As Trinity Hayfield checked back in, Blair Cherry gets another assist. Talked about her and her quick climb up the charts, and Carson-Newman all-time assist leaders. Blair Cherry moves into 9th this afternoon. She needed 7. She has well over that with 22 after the assist to her sister Blake. Serena Peterson knocks it over for UVA Wise. Blair Cherry towards Blake on the near side. Now Sudeth, far side, Kaylee Scarce. Cherry right back to Blake, goes back row and finds the back line and scores. Back-to-back kills for Blake Cherry, and it's 8-3. Nice job there for Blake Cherry. Got it over the top of Brandon and found the back line. Blake Cherry now up to 6 kills here this afternoon. Carson-Newman's lead is 5. Sudeth sets up in the middle. Scarce rolls it over the top and scores. Nice job by Kaylee Scarce. She now has 7 kills to lead UVA Wise, and it's 8-4. Blevins checks back in. Sudeth heads to the bench. And Riley Brandon serves. Take a look at the kill from Scarce. Wise to bump it over the top of Hurst and Cherry as this serve goes out of play. Point Carson-Newman. 5th service error for UVA Wise. 5 and 6 for Wise and Carson-Newman respectively. As Osmus checks back in for Cameron Batis. Blake Cherry back to serve for the Eagles. Carson-Newman has led all the way through so far in this 3rd set. It's 9-4 in set number 3. Brandon sets up Scarce far side. Tries to go over top again. Right there is Trinity Hayfield. Brandon sets up on the near side for Blevins. She's blocked and it goes down. Point Eagles. Osmus and Hurst combined. The Eagles are nearing double-digit blocks again. That's 9 as Blevins is denied. The 2 freshmen combined on the near side. Carson-Newman's lead is out to 6. Cherry serve goes up the top of the net. Brandon sets up on the near side for Peterson. Blocked again, but kept in play this time by Wise. Far side Scarce tries to go cross court, but pushes it past the near sideline. Point Eagles. Wise pretty adamant that that was tipped, but an attacking error for UVA Wise, and Carson-Newman's lead is now 7. UVA Wise will burn another timeout. Carson-Newman in control here in set number 3, looking for the hard-fought sweep over in conference pro UVA Wise here on the Eagle Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, Carson-Newman leads 11-4. Definitely the most lopsided set so far. Carson-Newman had an 8-point lead in set number 1. That was deleted by the UVA Wise Highland Cavaliers and made that one really close there at the end. But we'll see if UVA Wise has one more surge left in them to keep this one alive. Carson-Newman, it seems like, has handled the Cavaliers' best punch this afternoon. But we'll see if UVA Wise can make things interesting down the stretch. Blake Cherry to serve out of the timeout. Talked about UVA Wise's success out of timeouts. We'll see if they have it here. Brandon sets up in the middle. Scarce is blocked but kept alive by Livingston. Brandon far side for Blevins. A big swing. The dig by Bennett McCombs. Set up in the middle for Hurst, who scores. A big swing by the southpaw. Pushes it past Curtis on the back row. Point Carson-Newman. Hurst has done a nice job mixing up her attacks that time. Went full throttle and pushed it past Curtis for the point. Cherry serve. Brandon to Peterson, tipped around at the net and scored. Kill for Serena Peterson as Huffnagel will check back in. Livingston checks out, and Scarce will go back to serve. 12-5 your score. Carson-Newman in control, but UVA Wise maybe looking to make a push. Carson-Newman just getting out of a 4-0 scoring run. As Hafey receives the serve. Cherry to Hirsch. She's blocked, but it goes out of play. Point Carson-Newman. Looked like Wise was gearing up for a big swing there. Hirsch just pushes it right into them. And it goes into the net. 13-5 your score as Bennett McCombs will take the serve for Carson-Newman. Serve goes to Huffnagel. Brandon sets up Huffnagel, who dumps it over. Blair Cherry sets up Kieran at the net. It's tipped around, and Wise keeps it in play. Blevins goes cross court. Trinity Hafey right there. Now set up in the middle. Blake Cherry, a big swing. Curtis keeps it in play. Scarce is going to try to roll it over. It goes right to Huffnagel, and she's able to keep it alive. Now Osmus, a big swing. Great dig by Abigail Curtis. Scarce in the middle. Cherry, a big swing. Tipped around and scored. Blair Cherry, a couple of times this afternoon has seen the points go on long enough and does it herself. She does so right there with a powerful swing. That's not really what she's known for, but certainly within her game as Carson-Newman takes a 9-point advantage, 14-5. McCombs' serve goes back row, and it goes just out of play. Point Wise. Heads up play by Curtis to watch that one go by her, and out of play is Farley checks back in. Serena Peterson heads to the bench. And Abigail Curtis will head back to serve. Carson-Newman with an 8-point advantage here in set number 3. We saw UVA Wise's ability to go on runs. Both teams have had their runs this afternoon. Cherry sets up in the net, nobody home, so McCombs just bumps it over. Brandon to Farley, tipped around and scored. Cassidy Farley with a big swing in the net, cuts the Eagles' lead to 7. Again, UVA Wise has shown its capability to go on these big runs. You see Farley just overpowers Carson-Newman's middle blockers at the net. Blair Cherry sets up Emerson Osmond, who rolls it over the top. Brandon right there. Curtis bumps it far side for Huffnagel, who's blocked by Cherry and Kieran. Point Carson-Newman. Double-digit blocks for the second time this week at home. As Taylor Kieran and Blair Cherry combine at the net. It's 15-7. 10 blocks for Carson-Newman. The Eagles continue to stuff UVA Wise at the net. Farley will try and dump it back row, but she misses past the back line. Point Eagles. Farley's tried to do that a couple times. She's had success here and there. But can't find it right there as Carson-Newman's lead is back out to 9. Blair Cherry with the serve for Carson-Newman. 16-7 your score here in the third set. Brandon sets up Blevins. Blair Cherry to Kylie Oldenburger, tipped around, and it finds a hardwood. Point Carson-Newman. Third kill for Kylie Oldenburger. No Eagles in double digits this afternoon, but the kills have been widespread as Oldenburger gets her third. Osmus leads the Eagles. I believe she has 10. We'll take a look back at that second set of live stats. It shows the set is not complete. I believe Osmus had 2 kills, so she might be the only Eagle in double digits. Is Farley with a big swing. Gets it off the hands of Kieran and Osmus. Point Wise. Sudduth will check back in. We're talking about the widespread kills for Carson-Newman. There's 3 Eagles with 6. Hurst, Kieran, and Blake Cherry have 6. Blair Cherry has 3, as well as Kylie Oldenburger and Annie Dzikowski in limited time off the bench as one of her own. As Blair Cherry sets up near side, Oldenburger goes cross court and scores. Great swing by Kylie Oldenburger. Gets it at the peak of her jump, goes cross court. And Carson-Newman's lead is 10. Went away from the middle blockers and found the far sideline. Cameron Batos will serve. Carson-Newman closing in on a sweep and a 3-0 weak and sack play. Still some work left to do, but Carson-Newman looks good here in this third set. Brandon on the far side. Cherry sets up in the middle for Kieran. She's blocked a solo block for Farley. Her second solo block of the match. Point UVA Wise. Again, Carson-Newman has tried to take on Cassidy Farley one-on-one, and that's twice now. Farley has done it herself. 18-9 the score. Livingston heads back to serve. Powerful serve from Livingston. Goes back row to Bennett McCombs. Now Cherry sets up Oldenburger far side, who scores. Kylie Oldenburger taking over a little bit here in set number 3. She's up to 5 kills. This time she just decides to go right at Farley and Scarce. That takes some courage after Cassidy Farley just got herself a solo block. Goes right back at her. And Carson-Newman 6 points away from closing this one out. McKenna Hall to serve. Goes back row for Scarce. Sudduth goes right back to Scarce. It's tipped around and scored. Peterson checks back in. For Carson-Newman, it'll be Taylor Kieran subbing back in for McKenna Hall. 19-10 the score. Carson-Newman still in good shape, but pretty similar score to where UVA Wise made a run. It was 19-11 in the first set when Wise serves back. Looked like that serve might have been going long. Kept in play. McCombs will have to bump over the free ball. Sudduth sets up in the middle. Brandon mistimed her jump. Point Carson-Newman. Hafey checks back in. Abigail Curtis will check in for Wise. You see right there. Brandon might have thought there was somebody to the left or to the right of her, but there's nobody home. Point Eagles. Hafey with the serve for Carson-Newman. Goes back row for Scarce. Sudduth bumps it right back towards Scarce. A big swing. Great dig by Hafey to keep it in play. Blake Cherry, a big swing. Sudduth near side. She's blocked. Point Carson-Newman. Maddie Hurst and Blake Cherry combined to the net. Point Carson-Newman. That's her 7th block assist of the match. 11th of the game for Carson-Newman. Blake Cherry has added another 3. Carson-Newman has held that presence at the net all match long. Sudduth sets up in the middle for Scarce, who tries to bump it over the top, but Carson-Newman right there to put it down. Point Carson-Newman. 22-10 the score. Eagles not fooled on the mix-up and attack by UVA Wise. 22-10. Hafey serves once again. Back row for Curtis. Sudduth sets up near side Brandon. Blair to Blake on the near side. Kept in play by the Highland Cavaliers. Now the far side, it's Scarce. Looked like it was tipped by Betis on the back row. Point UVA Wise. That swing might have been going long, but Betis got a piece of it. As Blevins checks back in. Riley Brandon to serve. Goes to Bennett McCombs. Blair Cherry sets up in the middle. Maddie Hurst tipped around. Kept alive by Wise. Now set up for Blevins on the near side. A dig for Bennett McCombs. Right back to Blake Cherry. Tries to poke it towards the back row. Kept in play by Livingston. And Curtis will roll over the free ball. Cherry will dump it and score. UVA Wise a little bit out of position, and Blair Cherry takes advantage. What recognition by the sophomore to see that middle of the floor was wide open. Carson-Newman scores 23-11, 2 points away from a sweep here at Holt Fieldhouse. Blake Cherry serve goes to the back row, set up in the middle for Blevins. Tipped around, Hafey keeps it in play. Now Osmus will poke it over. UVA Wise trying to reset. Far side for Scarce. She's denied at the net. Now set for Blevins. Off the hands of McCombs and scored. Point Wise. It's a 10-point third set. Carson-Newman needs 2 points to close it out as Mylea Huffnagel checks in. Nice set by Brandon. Found Blevins on the near side. And she's able to score. UVA Wise just looking to stay alive here in this third set. Scarce's serve goes back row. Blair Cherry sets up Osmus near side. She's blocked by Blake Cherry right there. Right back to Emerson Osmus, but she'll push it past the far sideline. Point Wise. Coach Alyssa Hanley, you're liking what you see from your team here playing against one of the South Atlantic Conference best. Not how you wanted the third set to go, but the other 2 sets have been very competitive. As Osmus on the near side, a big swing. Kept in play by Wise. Now far side, Mylea Huffnagel. Dig by Hafey, kept in play for a moment by Carson-Newman, but it's scored. Point UVA Wise. We saw this in the first set. UVA Wise surged back to tie it up. Carson-Newman had to overcome a late deficit in that first set to win. Wise looking for something similar here in set number 3. Blair Cherry sets up Maddie Hurst far side, and she'll put it down. Point Carson-Newman. Maddie Hurst up to 7 kills. And Taylor Kieran will check in. Carson-Newman looking to close it out. A powerful swing from Hurst. Kind of injects momentum back into the shim right when you felt like UVA Wise might have been making a little comeback. McCombs to serve. Far side, it's Blevins. Cherry sets up Kieran, a big swing. She's blocked, but it's kept in play by Carson-Newman. Near side, Emerson Osmus rolls it over the top of the middle blockers. Brandon, near side for Blevins. Cherry sets up in the middle. Taylor Kieran, a big swing near side, and it's out of play. Point UVA Wise. The Highland Cavaliers live to fight another day as Cassidy Farley checks back in. Couldn't see the near sideline on that replay, but looked like the right call. As Abigail Curtis will serve. Wise looking for another big run here in the third set. Back row. Blair Cherry sets up Taylor Kieran, who pokes it over. Scarce with the dig. Far side, Mylea Huffnagel. She's blocked and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Match Carson-Newman. What a fitting way to end this one. Carson-Newman wins in straight sets, 25-15. Here in set number 3. Carson-Newman dominated the net. That's the 13th block. Carson-Newman in double-digit blocks in both matches at home this week. And the Eagles go 3-0 this week in sack play. Started it with Limestone. Took down Tusculum yesterday. Found its legs this afternoon to take down UVA Wise. Carson-Newman improves to 9-3, 5-0 in sack play. Still challenging for that top spot on Nora Ryan as of today. 13-0, 4-0 in sack play. So between those two at the top of the South Atlantic Conference, and UVA Wise falls to 1-3 in conference play, 6-6 overall, and still has not had a win over Carson-Newman in its program history. That'll do it for our coverage here from Holt Fieldhouse. The Eagles taking on Catawba later this evening, 6 o'clock kick in Salisbury, North Carolina. Join Adam Cavalier, David Needs, and Andrew Rogers on the call as the Eagles look to improve to 4-0. But that'll do it here for Carson-Newman Volleyball. Ryan Wilkes signing off. Talk to you later here on the Eagles Sports Network.